Ever wondered what the viral TikTok cloud eggs recipe is all about? Well, let's unravel that mystery together. The cloud eggs recipe is a playful and inventive spin on your conventional egg dish. It's a culinary phenomenon that has skyrocketed in popularity on TikTok, captivating food enthusiasts worldwide. It's not just about the taste, but also the aesthetics that make this dish an absolute hit. Now let's dive straight into the recipe and see why everyone is going crazy over it. Before we get started, you need to gather your ingredients. You'd be surprised to know that this delightful dish requires only a handful of ingredients. First up, we have eggs. For this recipe, you'll need 4 large, fresh eggs. The fresher, the better, as we're going to separate the yolk from the white. And fresh eggs make this process a breeze. Next, we need some seasoning. A pinch of salt and pepper should do the trick. Remember, we're aiming for a cloud-like texture, so we don't want to weigh it down with too many spices. And lastly, let's talk about toppings. Here's where you can let your creativity shine. You could use a good handful of shredded cheese or a sprinkle of freshly chopped chives. If you're feeling adventurous, why not try both? With all the ingredients ready, you're all set to start cooking. The first step to making cloud eggs is preparing the eggs themselves. Now, we're going to dive into the art of egg separation. You see, this recipe calls for a delicate touch, as we'll need to separate the yolks from the whites. First, crack your egg on a flat surface. This will give you a cleaner break and reduce the likelihood of shell shards. Then, over a bowl, gently open the egg, letting the white slip away while keeping the yolk nestled in one half of the shell. Be mindful of the yolk, as we want to keep it intact for later. Now transfer the yolk to another bowl and voila, you've separated an egg. Repeat this process for the rest of your eggs. Now on to whipping those egg whites. You're aiming for a texture similar to a meringue, light and fluffy. Start whipping the egg whites slowly, then gradually increase the speed. You'll notice that they'll start to foam, then thicken and increase in volume. Keep going until you see stiff peaks form. This is a crucial step. The stiffer the peaks, the better your cloud eggs will hold their shape, so don't rush this part. Give it all the elbow grease you've got. And there you have it. Your egg whites should now look like fluffy clouds. The stage is set for the next phase of our cloud egg adventure. Stay tuned. Now that your egg whites are ready, it's time to put them in the oven. First off, you'll need to preheat your oven to a moderate temperature, let's say around 150 degrees Celsius. While that's warming up, grab your baking sheet and line it with some parchment paper. This will prevent the egg whites from sticking and make cleanup a breeze. With your spoon in hand, gently scoop the whipped egg whites onto the lined baking sheet. You'll want to make them into fluffy little nests, with a well in the center for the yolk. Pop these into the preheated oven and let them bake for about 3 minutes. Once they're slightly golden and firm, it's time to carefully add the yolk. Place it gently into the well you've created and return the baking sheet to the oven. Let it bake for another 3 to 4 minutes or until the yolk is just set. And with that, your cloud eggs are cooked to perfection. So, you've just made your first batch of cloud eggs. Let's take a moment to revisit the steps that got us here. We began by assembling the necessary ingredients, a simple list that includes fresh eggs, salt, pepper, and any additional garnishes you fancy. We then moved on to the critical task of separating the egg yolks from the whites with care, ensuring a clear distinction between the two. Next, we whipped the egg whites to soft peaks, creating the fluffy, cloud-like texture that gives these eggs their whimsical name. Once our clouds were formed, we delicately nestled the yolks back into their airy homes, ready for baking. After a brief stint in the oven, the eggs emerged, transformed into a culinary spectacle quite unlike your everyday breakfast fare. The final touch? A sprinkle of seasoning, a garnish of your choice, and the perfect presentation. And there you have it. Now you know how to make the viral TikTok cloud eggs recipe. Happy cooking.